Hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. We're continuing today on Book 8. We're looking at Chapter 3 on friendship. So, the whole discussion of Book 8 and 9 are friendship, so therefore we're looking at the question of friendship today, continuing where we left off. Chapter 3 is continuing right here. He says, these things differ in form from one another. So the idea of the types of friendship are different. So therefore, do both the kinds of friendly love and the friendships that result. So therefore, the things differ. These things differ in form from one another, right? These the types of the loves in that sense, right? So therefore, do both the kinds of friendly love and friendship that result. They differ from each other. The forms of friendship then are three, equal in number to the things that are lovable. So therefore, in other words, there's three types of friendship, and it's tied to what is lovable, right? In accord with each, there is a reciprocal love. In accord with each, there is a reciprocal love that does not go unnoticed. So it does. It does not go unnoticed. It's noticeable. And those who love each other, wish for the good things for each other in that respect in which they love each other. Okay, they love each other and they wish there's reciprocation of the love of that way. So therefore, there's three ways that again, remember what was good, the pleasant, and the useful is originally listed. Now he's going to go by the opposite way. Right? He's going to start with the useful. Those who love each other on account of utility, then, do not love each other in themselves, but only insofar as they come to have something good from the other. Right. So this is the idea that use. This is the use. There is that one type of friendship that deals with the good, one type of friendship that deals with the pleasant, and one that types with the useful. He starts with examining the useful, right? Similarly, too, in the case of those on account of pleasure, people are fond of, and again, this is why he uses agapine, right? Care for. I mean, I don't like the problem is fond of. This is Aristotle here uses a agapine rather than feeling, from which philia comes from. According to Little Scott Jane's famous dictionary, the former is distinguished from the latter, implies regarded from affection, right? From affection, right? And affection, they say, right? In the Christian tradition, the non-agape usually denotes the love of God for humankind, as well as the selfless love one person for another that is without sexual implication, right? But this is care, right? Some people translate this as care too. Affection. This is agape. Agape is in a sense caring for this. Uh, uh, Affection for, so this is fond of. Right? He's saying that they are concerned with or cared with those who are witty. They're fond of those who are witty, not because they are of a certain sort, but because they're pleasant to them. So you like the witty not because they're witty. There's the pleasure that they give, right? Therefore, those who love on the account of utility feel affection. Again, this is why, again, stirigen, typically derived of familiar love, right? Description, stirigen, like care for, concern. This is like kind of care, right? Stirigen, typically used to describe familiar love of something that's familiar. They feel affection for the sake of their own good. Therefore, those who love on account of utility feel affection for the sake of their own good. And those who love on account of pleasure feel affection for the sake of their own pleasure, right? So this is interesting that utility and good, it seems to be that it's for that the utility that their love is for their pleasure or their utility, right? In other words, therefore, those who love on account of utility feel affection for those for the sake of their own good, in that sense, right? And those who love on account of pleasure feels for affection for the sake of their own pleasure. And he who is loved in each case is not loved for himself, but only insofar as he is useful or pleasant. So it's not, in other words, the person, in other words, it's the question of use and pleasure, the pleasant is that they produce what is useful. Because remember, they're means to an end. They're not good. In other words, they're not loved in themselves, but they're loved for what they deliver. He's saying, right? He is loved in each case, is not loved for himself, but only insofar as he is useful and pleasant. And these then are friendships incidentally, in that sense. For it is not being what he is that the person is loved, but only insofar as he provides in the one case something good, and in the other pleasure, right? Something beneficial, or something beneficial. One time is useful in that sense, beneficial, good, or something that is valuable in that sense, beneficial. And the other is a pleasure, right? So this is an imperfect. He's saying that these are the friendship of utility and the friendship of pleasure are imperfect friendship. They're what he says, they're incidental. Because what is cared for is the pleasure or the use, the use, the benefit, or then the pleasure that is given from, or the association. Okay, that's what he suggests here. These sorts of friendship then are easily dissolved when people involved do not remain the same as they were. In other words, that if you're no longer useful or you don't give pleasure, the friendship kind of ends in that sense, right? For if they are no longer pleasant or useful, those who love them will cease to do so. And what is useful does not remain constant, but is different in different times. So therefore, the question of what is useful does not remain constant in that sense, but is different at different times. When that on the basis, when that on the basis of which they are friends is nullified, so too the friendship is dissolved, since the friendship exists with a view to the thing in question. In other words, it's the friendship here is really that isn't tied to the usefulness or pleasure, and at once is that their usefulness or their pleasure, the pleasing is no longer done, then it's the friendship is dissolved. He's saying this sort of friendship seems to arise especially among the old. For those of such an age pursue not what is pleasant, but what is what is beneficial to them, as well as among all those in their prime or the young, who pursue what is advantageous. Right. This is therefore this sort of friendship, this friendship of that aims at what is useful or beneficial in that sense. Um, when basis they were friends nullified, so too, so that he's saying that this is among the old. Why? For the old pursue not what is pleasant, but what is beneficial to them, as well as those in their prime, or the young, who pursue what is advantageous. And such people do not frequently live, for such people do not frequently live with each other either, for sometimes they are not even pleasant to each other. Okay, so therefore, this idea of usefulness, this usefulness relationship is not going to live. You're not going to share a life together because not be pleasant. They might not be pleasant all the time. They might be only pleasant for some use that they have gotten. They've been useful for what I need, but they're not pleasant to be around, right? For such people do not live with each other for sometimes they're not even pleasant to each other, right? And therefore they have no additional need of this association. Koinonia. I think that's koinonia. I think that's koinonia. Oh, okay, let's look at this. This is a pain in the ass. Hold on. Okay, togetherness. That's tied to a togetherness. Is not a koinonia. That's why association. I would not use that because technically association is when it's translated is usually in translation is it's assumed to be koinonia. That's one of the two things, but no, it doesn't mean koinonia here. It's not koinonia. It's company, companion, and companion. I don't know why he did association rather than companionship. In other words, that such people do not live frequently with each other, and sometimes that is not even pleasant for them to each other, and they therefore have no need of this sort of companionship if they supply no benefit to each other. In other words, this is sort of associations. The wrong word. Association has the conception of traditionally this word association is translated as for koinonia. It is the kind of what I call the weak koinonia. Right? This is the weak conception of koinonia. Um, the kind of things that sociologists would like versus community, right? Koinonia, the communitas, right? Um, because that way you avoid the whole community versus society problem in sociology. But no, there was no. It's not. There's no koinonia in this part of the Greek. I had to go search, looking over word, over the checking the Greek text. No, there's no koinonia here at all. This is about uh, shared companionship. The word is tied to that. So, so there's no need of sort of companionship if they supply no benefit for the other. For they are pleasant to each other insofar as they foster hopes of obtaining something good or beneficial from the other, right? Something useful to the other, right? And it is also among these sorts of friendships that people place the kind of connections with foreigners, right? This is 18, Xenokia, Xenokia, the foreigner, right? The Xeno, the Xena, all right? That is friendship between the host and guest. This is the kind of concern connected with foreigners, or xenokoia, the friendship between a host and a guest, an important relationship in the Greek, which carried obligations of hospitality and protection from Zeus. It also had a political dimension than the hosting and giving of foreign guests or ambassadors, right? This is xenokoia. And I think this is an interesting theme that xenokoia may be an interesting aspect of how uh, friendship, this obligation to the different, the stranger, the non. So this is why friendship kind of concerned with foreigners, right? This is it is also among this usefulness, this utility friendship in that sense. Um, Here I'm thinking of Axelrod, Axelrod's famous evolution corporation that we use. He makes the argument that this utility friendships ultimately produce longer and more deriving community-based structures that they create from this mere self-interest. You get the living the interactions produce some more interactions that produce more concerns and connections that eventually they become friends, but beyond utility. Um, so that something's connected here in that sense. So let's think about this some more. But the friendship of the young seems to be based on pleasure. So therefore, this has been from here on has been mostly utility friendship, right? This is really focusing on utility friendship. This paragraph here, but now he says, but friendship of the young seem to be based on pleasure, for they live according to passions, and most of all pursue what is pleasant to them, and at hand. What is pleasant to them, and what is pleasant at hand, right? So this is the young, the young. the pleasant, right? But since this time of life is prone to undergoing change, the pleasures the pleasures too come to be different. So that's why hence the young swiftly become friends and cease being so. So pleasure, this is useful, this is great in that sense. They meet new people, that gives them pleasure, and they do this. But then what happens is situations change, times differ, and the pleasures become different. Hence, the young swiftly become friends and cease being so. The friendship changes swiftly with what they find pleasant, and changes of in this sort of of the sort of pleasures is swift. Okay, so the friendships come together quickly and dissolve quickly, as the pleasants they echo the kind of what is pleasant in that sense. The pleasure, what they find pleasant, and the change of this sort of pleasure is swift. The young are given to erotic love as well. Now, derived from eros, sexual love. The fourth term for love is discussion of friend. The fourth term for love in this discussion of friendship, eros, right? Erotica, eros, right? The erotic love as well, and that's erotikoi. Um, and this is a form of friendship in that sense, pleasure, but there's this erotic friendship, which is kind of pleasure. For the greatest part of erotic love is bound up with passions and is based on pleasure, which is why they 20 feel in to love in the sense of friendship. They love and swiftly cease loving. They form a they have they love in the as friend feeling to befriend. They befriend and swiftly cease befriending, often changing in the course of the same day, right? This is, they love and they cease loving, often the case the same day. But the young do wish to, in other words, but the young do wish to pass their days together and live together in that sense. For in this way, they attain what friendship for them involves. So it's the living together. It's not just, and this is the problem. This is the moment. This is why utility friendship is not necessary. And I think maybe this be the limitation of Axelrod in that sense too. That the mere utility, it's the living together that matters. It's the sharing a life together, and it's not. And people, utility is not enough. If they don't get pleasure from, in other words, you can get utility but no pleasure, but you can get utility and pleasure. So the kind of person you'd want to live together is more the pleasant than the merely useful in that sense. And this is why they live together. They share. In other words, um, uh, 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 but the young do wish to pass their days together and live together. For in this way they attain what friendship for them involves: this shared life together, this living together. In that sense, right? But 21 perfect telia, right? Perfect telia, complete friendship, telia friendship, complete or perfect friendship, right, is the friendship of those who are good and alike in points of virtue. In other words, they share the same character. They're good, and they share the same character in that sense. And this is what drives that kind of aspect of it. So, for such people wish in similar fashion for the good things for each other insofar they're good. And they are good in themselves, right? That, in other words, they wish the same things for each other, and that they're good, and that the goods that they wish for is a good in themselves. The character is that is not a means to an end. In the same way, the pleasant and the useful are. But those who wish for good things of their friends, for their friends' sakes, and are friends most of all, and since they are disposed in this way in themselves and not incidentally, so in other words, it's not accidentally. That this friend is that they love the good, they love their good character, and they look at the character of the good friend, and likewise that the person sees the good character in them, the good in them, and then what they see, the good in them, and therefore they wish them well and benefit good things. They wish them well, wish them good, and they wish good in turn. And this is done not accidentally, but intent in themselves. They are disposed in this way themselves, and not accidentally. Their friendship continues then while they are good, and virtue is a stable thing. In other words, they will continue then while they're good, and virtue is more stable than either utility or pleasure in that sense, right? Each person involved is good simply, and for the friends, since good people are good simply and beneficial to one another, so therefore they're accidentally, in other words, each person involved is good simply, and for the friend, since good people are good simply and beneficial to one another, right? They're good simply, they're good to each other, and they're beneficial to each other. So too are they pleasant. So not only being good, their goodness, they're beneficial to each other. They're going to seek each other's well beneficial, but they're also pleasant. They are so too they are pleasant. For the good are both pleasant simply and pleasant to one another. To each person his own actions, and those like them accord with his pleasure. So to each person my actions, and those actions like my actions accord like them accord with his pleasure. And the action of those who are good are the same or similar. In other words, those who are good, in other words, the good, who share the good, they're going to have similar actions. They're going to be either the same or similar to each other, and therefore they give it is pleasant in that sense. It is it is with good reason that this sort of friendship is stable, since it combines in itself all those things that ought to belong to friends. So, in other words, it's the good that crumbles. In other words, the pure utility friendship does not necessarily embrace the pleasant friendship, and the pleasant friendship does not necessarily embrace utility. But the good friendship embraces both the pleasant and the beneficial. So, therefore, this is why it's perfect, and this is why it's complete in that sense. Telos, right? For every friendship exists on account of a good or pleasure, or for the person who loves, and in accord with the likeness involved. So let's start here. It's a good reason that this sort of friendship is stable, since it combines all those things that want to be friends. For it, friendship exists on account of a good or pleasure, either simply or for the person who loves, and in accord with the likeness involved. 22. There is a disagreement among commentators concerning the meaning of this last clause. Does the likeness refers to the likeness of the friends, or does it indicate the friendship based on the good or pleasant relative to one another, relative to the one who loves? Are friendships only in their likeness to complete friendship? So this is why this text right here, this clause here, either for the person who loves or in accord with the likeness involved. So therefore, the question is two ways. Is it to be understood that does the likeness refer to the likeness of the friends, or the likeness of the pleasant friendship, the pleasure friendship to the good? There's double possible meanings here. This is why they're both that both of this, the sentence is constructed such this has two possible meanings. And in this complete friendship, all that has been spoken of is present in the friends themselves. Since in this respect the friends are alike, and the remaining reasons for forming the friendship are present as well, both the good simply and the pleasant simply. Now, here with Burnet, we accept the reading of the manuscript with Aspasis against Bywater, and others who read for the remaining kinds of friendships are alike to this one. And what is good simply is also pleasant simply. That's Bywater reads it this way. If one accepts the former reading, it would seem to support the argument that likeness Aristotle refers to is perhaps, in the previous line, is the likeness of friends. So if you accept this reading, the Burnet and Rispus, right, then this is about friendship. But if you read this line, if you read, you read this paragraph here, 23, 23, both with respect to what is good simply and pleasant simply. And these things are lovable most of all, right? So let's repeat this line. And in this complete friendship, all that has been spoken of is present and finds themselves, since in this respect, friends are alike and remaining our reasons for forming friends are present in both the good and the simply and this pleasant simply, right? So therefore, this is why if you read, this is how they read it. But if you read it with Bywater, who argues for the remaining kind of friendships, for the remaining are like to this one. So the other ones are like this one. That is, what is good simply is also pleasant simply. Okay, so therefore it suggests that therefore in this sense, you follow this reading, then it is the other one is different. So the complexity of the reading points to the complexity of this. I think if you read it the way Burnet and Aspasis does in the manuscript, then you're reading it so that it's the friends. It's like the likeness is the likeness of friends, not the likeness of the friendship towards it's a different likeness towards the what is the perfect friendship, right? Here it suggests that it is different. Okay, so if you follow Bywater, it is different. So this text will different whose translation text you're using in that sense. So again, and in this complete friendship, as was been spoken of, is present in the friend themselves, since in this respect friends are alike and remaining as present as well, both in the good simply and the pleasant simply, and these things are lovable most of all. So it is among these people that both loving and friendship are especially prevalent and best. So therefore, these good people, the good people with good character, with virtue, those people with virtue and good character, these are the people who are going to be both loving and friendship is especially prevalent at best. Yet friends of this sort are likely to be rare, since people of this sort are few, right? Good, the good and good character. Therefore, it is also needed in the passage of time and the habits forming. In other words, so therefore, this kind of friendship is good. Now, further, there is also a need of the passage of time and the habits formed by living together. Okay. Um, for as the okay, I'm going to stop here. 24 for the habit. The phrase "habits formed by living together" translates the single word "sunothea." The sunothea. That's one word. Habits formed by living together. Sunothea. That suggests both living and dwelling together. And the habits. Okay, that's very important. This is another word. This is living together, right? This is the sunothea is very important here, right? That suggests both living and dwelling together, and the habits of customs acquired thereby. We sometimes translate the term as simply living together or the habit of living together, sunothenia, the sunothea. Okay, this is therefore, let's do this. Therefore, there need a passage of time and habits formed by living together, right? For as the adage has it, it is not possible for people to know each other until they have eaten together in the proverbial salt, nor is it possible before this occurs. for them to accept each other and to be friends until each appears to each as lovable and is trusted. So this is a very important point, that there is another logic to friendship, that is that they have to live together. They live together. They share a life together. They live together, and that this living together is seen to them. What is that? What is, how does he word it? I think it's a very useful way to word it. They have come to know each other. They know it's not possible for you to really know each other unless you have eaten together the proverbial salt, the bitterness, the bitter. That's what is the salt, is the bitter, right? No, see the bad. In other words, until we see the salt, nor is it possible before this occurs for them to accept each other and to be friends until each appears as to each as lovable. In other words, you need to see the salt. In other words, living together, you reveal the salt. You come to eat together and taste the salt. You see the other side. You see more of them. You got to know more. And then they become lovable in that sense and trusted. Those who swiftly make proofs of friendship to each other wish to be friends. Okay, hold on. We're having a conniption fit here. The computer is, being very creeping out for a second. Those who swiftly make proofs of friendship to each other wish to be friends, but are not such unless they are lovable and know this about each other. So, in other words, you want to be, for wish of friendships arises swiftly. But friendship, in other words, the desire for friendship, that moves swiftly. But the actual friendship, the friendship is not, okay, the mere want, I want to be friendly towards you, I want the wish of friendship, okay, this can happen swiftly. But, those who swiftly make proof of friendships to each other wish to be friends, okay? They don't know, they're not really sure. In other words, they don't really know each other yet. They have not tasted the salt, in that sense, as it says here. But they have not, each other wish to be friends, but are not such unless they are lovable and know this of each other. And how do you become lovable? Is that you've know each other well enough by eating together and tasting this proverbial salt line, right? For the wish of friendship arises swiftly, but friendship itself does not. So we'll stop here. If you have any questions or comments, please put them below, and we'll respond to them when I see them. If you like it, hit the like button. Please hit the like button. Share share it to your friends. Share it on your social media. Share it far and wide. It helps the algorithm. The more you like it and you share it in that sense. Share it, about. If you've not subscribed, please consider subscribing and help grow the channel. If you didn't like it, you can always say no, but say why in the comments, okay? So people can learn from what's going on. If you want to know more about me, you can follow me on social media. The links are below. Or you want to know more about me as a researcher and a scholar, then you can check out my academic social media links below, the social media links, which points to my scholarship and my research and things like that. If you want to help me to do what I do, and you want to contribute financially to do what I do here and being able to do these things, please, you can do so through Patreon or Subscribestar. The URLs are links below. Otherwise, another way you can help and contribute to this is by buying one of my books. My available books are listed below, and you can order them either at your local bookstore or through an online distributor like Amazon or Barnes & Noble or whatever, Libris or whatever, A&B or anything like that. Or you can buy it through the bookstore, it's the publisher itself. That's it. Well, that's it. Take care. Next time we'll see each other, we'll look at chapter 4. Take care. Bye-bye. See you later.